Somebody's asking, will you do other people on your podcast? I was adopted at 25 and would love to share. Absolutely. I know Erin's actually going to be on our podcast in a few weeks. I can't wait.
I know. I'm so excited to come up. I actually just confirmed yesterday. So
Brenda, I would love to get you on to talk about adoptive parent stuff. Seriously. Like, I feel like that's so beneficial.
It's always hard for me to talk because I just want to walk a fine line of like, this is my experience, and I separate that from his family and his experience. You know what I mean? So
no, and very much like my podcast is whatever you feel comfortable with sharing. Like I would never push or, I always, if people want questions up front, I always give them questions up front to read because it can be, you have to.
Yeah, you have to be careful. Yeah. Especially, it's a delicate. I think what people don't understand about open adoption, it's very delicate. You're dealing with a lot of highly charged emotions, right? And you have a group of people that love a child intensely. And so if you're not careful with that, it can be explosive. And if you're not child-centered with that, it will be explosive. So I just want to make sure that anything that I do just respects his family and him. So I'm sure we could work within those boundaries. That would be great.
No, that's awesome.
Brenda, I just know you're such a good, I don't know, for me, whenever anybody, adoptive parents, have anything to say, I always send them your way because I just feel like you have such an eloquent way of explaining things. So even if you're not telling personal stories or giving personal information, you're just a wealth of knowledge and understanding of how to word things in a way that makes sense to people. And I think that you're just really good at getting through to people. Whereas a lot of times, adoptive parents are not really receptive to listening or to other perspectives. Hearing it from you is just invaluable. So I think that even if you're not giving personal details about things, just your experience in general is just super helpful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But I also want to say for any adoptive parents on this feed right now, we are the only group of parents of marginalized children not out here shouting for their rights. So please listen to adoptees, echo adoptees, talk to your representatives, fight for your kids.
What do you mean? If you've adopted and your bio parents don't want... So yeah, I mean, are there situations where bio parents don't want to be involved in the child's life after they've given them up for adoption? Absolutely. And you know what? As an adoptee, I always said that for me personally, I would have respected my birth mother's wishes if that was the case. And there was no paperwork and there was no way of getting a hold of her. Or if I did try to reach out and she said, absolutely not. That was something that I would respect because that's her right also. I don't necessarily agree with it. I think that we as adoptees should have the right to know where we came from, but I also respect their right as well. So, I mean, I don't know. I think that it's really case by case situation, but you can't force somebody to want to have a relationship with their child if they don't want to have that relationship. So there's nothing you can really do about it if the bio parents do not want to have that contact.
Except keep trying and keep your number the same, keep things open, try and reach out to other extended family members, try and give them some sort of genetic mirroring and contact.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, really, honestly, any familial contact is great. Some people's bio parents don't want anything to do with them, but they have aunts and uncles that, you know what I mean, that want them to reach out, or grandparents, or just somebody else in the family that didn't know that they existed, and they're happy to have you as part of their family. It doesn't necessarily have to just be your biological parents. You can get genetic mirroring from anybody that's in your family.
That was a really sweet comment. Caitlin, there was an adoptee in there that said that you're the person that made them feel comfortable searching for their family.
I know, I just saw that and sent a heart. Well, I think because I feel like it's rare, I don't know, just from all the birth parents that I've spoke to, I feel like it's rare that birth parents don't want to be involved or know about their child. I mean, there is cases, like Erin was saying, there is cases where it is like that, but I just know for me, it was if I want to be as involved as I can be, and I love this child. and as involved as possible. So
I know I've been asking her to have Siobhan on her podcast. You're talking about Siobhan, first mom, birth mom. I actually told Caitlin and Tyler the same thing. I actually say that like once a week. I'm like, you got to get Siobhan.
she's the one who gave me the advice of like, send pictures when you write messages to them, because you can have all these facts, and if her parents don't show them to Carly, then she's gonna have questions for them and not you know. So she gave me a lot of advice.
She's the absolute best. And honestly, last year she had reunion with her daughter last year, like right before I had my reunion. And I was just like bawling my eyes out every time she posted a video with her daughter, because their connection was just such, like, just one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my entire life, her and her daughter. It's like, I'm like getting teary eyed thinking about just watching them together and seeing how wonderful it is, and just how happy I am that they were able to have that. And it's sad that they're apart right now, but her daughter's definitely nearing an age where she's going to be able to make that decision for herself. And we all pretty much know where that's going to go. So
we're all rooting for her to come to college in Texas, by the way, because we're in Texas.
I actually said the same thing to her. I was like, maybe she'll go to college by you. Yeah. She's just a wonderful human being. And honestly, like, I can't even fathom not wanting her. I kind of like want her in my kid's life, and she's not even like my family. You know what I mean? Like, I would like, she's the type of person that like I would allow around my kids any day. So I don't understand like why you wouldn't allow her to be in her own child's life. Like, she's a super positive, wonderful example. And I don't know. That's the kind of situation where it's very obvious that it's an insecurity issue.
Siobhan's relationship reopened, her adoption reopened because of her social media platform. So for any of you naysayers out there saying that Cate and Ty are doing the wrong thing by speaking about this, that this is how we can put pressure on adoptive parents to do the right thing. And I say that as an adoptive parent.
I'm really glad that you said that, because that's super important to hear. That's super important. Let's reiterate for the people that may have missed that. Brenda just said that one of our other adoptive moms one of our other birth mothers on this app was able to reconnect with her daughter and have her adoption opened because of the pressure that she was putting on social media. So the reason that Caitlin and Tyler are out here continuing to use their voice is because it works, and they want to have a relationship with their daughter. So they're using their platform in a productive way to try to gain access to their child again, which I totally agree with.
I agree too. And even if they don't change their minds, their child will know how hard they fought for them, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And how much they're loved. They have evidence all over the place of how much they are loved.
Yep. And that's super important. It's really important for her to see. I mean, especially like, I don't know, like I've always been that way my whole life. And again, I don't know if it's because of the adoption or my situation or how I was raised, but like, evidence is, I always want to like see the evidence of things. Like, I want to be able to like see things for myself. And I think that it's really important that they're still putting that out there so that she will be able to see it for herself when she's able to.
Oh, there is an adoptive parent that said, I'm hoping having the bio family in my son's life will help him feel complete as he grows up. I'm going to say something that's really hard to hear. There is nothing that we can do as adoptive parents that will make our children feel complete as they grow up. Because of their adoption trauma, there will always be a shift in identity, right? And a struggle with identity, but hopefully it bridges that and helps dispel some of that harm. And all you can do is be the safe place for them to land. No matter how big the feelings are, just be the safe place for them to land.
That's beautiful.
I get called out on that all the time. My bestie is an adoptee and a trauma therapist. And she tells me all the time, like, you're trying to avoid the trigger. Your job is not to avoid the trigger. Your job is just to be the safe place to land when they happen. His whole life will be filled with triggers.
Yeah. It's true. It's absolutely true. I mean, I'm 44 and I still get triggered. I literally had a grown woman tell me last year that like, oh, your parents didn't want you. Like, literally, like, a grown woman, like, as an insult, was telling me that I was adopted because my parents didn't want me. Like, it literally never ends. So you're absolutely correct. When you say that kind of thing. Siobhan, I invited you if you want to come in and talk because we're talking about you. I figured I would invite you to talk.
I sent her the link too.
Okay, good. I'm like, we're just sitting here talking about you. I didn't even realize that she was in here.
Also, Siobhan is like the number one hype girl in my life, so thank you for that, Siobhan. Even if you don't come up here, I appreciate your love and hype.
You guys, she's in. I don't know how to like highlight her or whatever, but if you see first bomb, birth bomb, up, here she comes. This is great. This is my favorite thing ever. All right, everybody go
That is
follow
so
her
nice.
immediately.
Oh my gosh.
Go follow her immediately, everyone. Hi, Siobhan.
Hey. I literally woke up and I just like went straight to my notifications and I saw that I saw you, and I think Brenda was the one that sent me the invite. I'm so rare when I like listen or like really, I'm more of a video scrolling girl. I'm not like a TikTok live girly anymore. So I was like, let me just check it out. And I jump in right when y'all were saying all these things. I was like, who's this other birth mom they're talking about? And I didn't know y'all were talking about me. Y'all are so nice. Oh my gosh.
No, we absolutely adore you. And I was just saying how like just beautiful the connection between you and your daughter is. And like anybody that thinks that like when you give your child up for adoption, anybody that thinks that like when you give your child up for adoption, anybody that thinks that like when you give your child up for adoption, that thinks that like when you give your child up for adoption,
Maybe you'll share DNA, but then like the whole Mormon aspect of like your blood changes. So I was like, what do I do with this information? And it was like this really deep internalized like conflict with me where I was like, man, I was like, I feel so connected to my baby, but like my baby's just a baby. I don't know. It was like such an interesting feel. And then over all these years, like my daughter and I have shared some things with each other where it's like, I don't know, it's like you have this connection and you didn't realize it. And like we, like I think like when we talked about like COVID stuff, that was like a really big hot topic because I was like really nervous and I didn't know if she was okay during that time. And so like I would tell her like, yeah, there was like moments where I felt like something was wrong or happening around like these dates or around like this time frame. And she's like, oh yeah, I got COVID during that. So it was so interesting to like, I don't know, it's like your intuition and like things that you feel are kind of like a core. Like you never lose that contact, you never lose that connection. So it was really interesting looking at it from that perspective.
yeah. Yeah, that's crazy.
I always tell people, I'm like, adoption's so messy and it just keeps getting messier and messier. And I'm like, fuck, when does it stop doing that? I don't think it ever does. I wish it would.
It even with Caitlin, you and Tyler's situation, having it completely abruptly end like it has, I can't even imagine how detrimental that is for an adopted child, because one minute we are continuing on seeing our siblings, seeing genetic mirroring, seeing our other parents and everything, and then just to have that end. Like nobody ever wants to think about the adopted child in any of this. So much is centered around how our adoptive parents are going to feel. How dare us ungrateful children talk so badly about our adoptive parents because they're put on these imaginary societal pedestals.
Yes.
It's wild. I love that the conversations are changing and that we're working through a lot that people say to us. I would love people to have new material for once in their lives. Like, how many times can I be told that my parents didn't want me?
And also to kind of like piggyback to what you just said about like, I only imagine like what Carly is feeling for everything to be ripped from her out of nowhere. Like, I think about that all the time because I know how it made me feel and still makes me feel. Like, I literally spiraled. Like, I went into like PTSD full blown. Like, thought I was healed from a lot of these things, yada, yada, yada. And I was brought to an awakening that I'm probably will never be fully healed from, placing a child. And so if it makes me feel the way that I felt, I can only imagine how it makes her feel. And that is so unfair to her.
It really is. And the way that it's amazing to me to see how different groups in our triad are treated. So adoptees are treated one way, birth parents are treated a completely different way. And then adoptive parents are treated a different way. And you can see the levels that society has placed everyone's value on. The value is always the highest with the adoptive parents. They can do no wrong. And then it drops down to I would say the biological parent and the adoptee are kind of on the same playing field, depending on how we respond to society. If we respond in a way that makes society comfortable, that those people at the very top pedestal, the adoptive parents, are held to high regards, then we're okay in society's eyes. But the moment we step off and go off stage and on a different path and we say anything negative, then all of a sudden, well, we're the problem.
Yep. That's 100% the truth.
As long as we stay online and stay on the program that society has created for adopted people, then we're fine. But I mean, as soon as I deviate at all, I would have no debt if I got $1 for every time I was told I was ungrateful.
I feel like you get it the most out of everybody too.
I've lost what? I'm on my 3rd TikTok account.
Yep.
I get
definitely targeted more than anybody else, I feel like, out of anybody that I follow anyway.
I get unaliving threats. I get everything. It's the slurs, the everything. It's wild.
It is wild to see the difference in how we're treated, right? Like I have an immense amount of undeserved privilege. Like I don't get spoken to. I will say the same exact thing in the same exact tone that an adoptee says, and people are like, oh, they might pause for a minute, and then adoptee says it and they're ungrateful.
I like genuinely think that people think that we're crazy because we're talking about the fact that we have trauma from something, and that they automatically like just assume that we are saying that so that we're crazy. You know what I mean? Or like that, you know, we're playing the victim. I get told all the time that I'm playing the victim, but I'm like, literally, the only explanation that I can really give is, how do people expect when like the person, and this is how I explain my situation. Again, other people may explain it differently, but for me, the way I look at it is the person that was supposed to love me the most in the world gave me away to somebody else to raise. That's loss, that's grief, and that's abandonment. How can anybody deny that that's a traumatic experience, or that people should just be fine with it? Like, I don't understand how people should just be fine with that experience happening to them, or just assume that you should be okay with it. Like, they don't, like, at the end of the day, nobody looks at it like that because they're told that it's beautiful, but it's not beautiful for me. Somebody that was supposed to love me wasn't there for me. So like, that's a loss. And if you try to explain that to people, they look at you like you're crazy. But to me, it makes perfect sense. Like, it's a loss.
Well, and that's the problem in society is people can understand that if a baby's mother passes away after childbirth, society can understand that that baby, in every sense of the word, is grieving the loss of their parent. But it somehow, when it comes to adoption, society thinks that, oh, well, you've replaced the mother, so the baby is fine. No,
Correct.
Did you replace the mother's scent? Did you replace the mother's voice? Did you replace every connection that we had in utero to this human? No, you didn't. You know, the comments, that viral video of the woman who's taking care of, I think it was her niece or something. The mother passed away, and they have a teddy bear that has the baby's heartbeat in it. The comments overwhelmingly understood how traumatic of an experience that is for that newborn baby to go through, and that how that heartbeat was soothing the baby, and oh, that's so beautiful, blah, blah, blah. But if I say that I'm suffering trauma from that same separation as a baby, oh, you dropped your victim card.
Right. Right. From our perspective, how is it any different? It's not any different. It's only different because if like my mom died in childbirth, at least I would grow up having that closure and that finality. But my mom didn't die during childbirth, so I had to grow up wondering who she was and where she was and why she gave me up. It's even worse because they're there and they still aren't a part of your life. So like,
it's a never ending death.
correct. There's no closure to it unless you find them. And even now that I have found them and had a failed reunion, I still don't really get there's no real closure. Now it's just more healing that needs to happen.
Right. And it's sad that society can't recognize that for us, this is traumatic. It is traumatic for us to be removed from our birth mothers, whether they were dangerous or not, and 9 times out of 10 they're not. And it's sad that we don't ever get a finale to it. When I learned the term disenfranchised grief, that wrecked me. I was emotionally distraught, checked out, all of it for 2 weeks after learning what that term was.
Yeah. Somebody just said, as children, we had to wonder what was wrong with us that made us unwanted. And I definitely had that feeling all the time. I remember constantly thinking like, well, what was wrong with me? Like, why didn't she want to keep me? Like, I had that feeling of inadequacy. And like, when I would express it to my adoptive mom, I was always met with, oh no, it wasn't that she didn't want you. It was that she loved you so much that she just knew that somebody else would be able to take care of you better. And like, that's not like really.
That's what we're told. That's what I was told.
But
that I loved her enough that I could give her to somebody who could do a better job. Basically, that's what I was told.
And to hear that on our end, it's like really hard to hear because it's like, who can raise you better than your mom? You know what I mean? Like, who can do a better job than the person that gave birth to you? And then that's really confusing to hear when you're a kid.
I can only imagine. That's why I always go back to you when I speak about things. I mean, I've said it 50 million times, I feel like, even just today. Listen to the adoptees. Hello, if you listen to them and you understand their thoughts, feelings, and emotions about it, we should change things because they are all telling us the things that are wrong here. Hello.
Yep. And somebody just asked, do I think that all adoptees long for their bio families? And I'm not going to speak for all adoptees. I think that in my experience, there's a huge mix of people who want to be a part of their bio family and people that don't have any desire. I think it has to do with your upbringing. I think it has to do with whether or not those relationships were encouraged while you were growing up. I think that there's a million factors involved in whether or not an adoptee wants to be a part of their bio family's life or not. And it's case to case. But I think that deep down, there's probably always some sort of longing to know where we came from. I think that that's just human nature. I think that everybody feels that way.
Somehow we're supposed to ignore it, though. Have you noticed that? In society, people tell us that those biological connections and ancestry connections that they put so much value and emphasis on do not somehow matter to us. I mean, I can scroll Instagram, for instance, or Facebook, and you will see these compilations put together of the Kardashians, Beyonce, any notoriety person, and there's comparisons between them and how identical their children are. Why does society put so much of an emphasis on us looking like the people who gave birth to us unless you're adopted? Then all of a sudden, poof, it shouldn't matter.
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
But people don't think it is having those genetic mirroring, cultural mirrorings, having those experiences that shape who we are as people. You can't form a full self-esteem and self-worth about yourself without having those things.
Yeah. That definitely contributes. Like I always say, like I never really felt like I belonged anywhere. Like even though like I always had a pretty big circle of friends and like I've always like been involved in a lot of different things. Like I've never actually felt like I belonged anywhere. And like that definitely has to do with what you were just saying.
I do think that if open adoptions were a more legal concept, that it develops the children having a relationship always with these people, with our birth family. We always have some semblance of a relationship. And then we're able to develop and grow up to decide for ourselves whether these are people we want to fully engage with going forward.
Yep.
It's giving us that bodily autonomy that we lose in every aspect of adoption.
Yeah. Wait, guys, I see you talking about family trees in the this is my number one trigger that gets me like, I don't even know. I'm going to get flustered and start rambling. But please, if you're a teacher, do not make your students do family trees. Or if you are, don't tell your adopted kids that they have to use their adoptive family because that's their family. Because I, as a child, was
That's insane.
told, yeah, every time family trees came up in elementary school, and I would say, well, which family am I supposed to do? I only really know my adopted family, but that's not where I came from. I was always, oh, well, that's your adopted family. That's your real family. That's your real family is how it was always explained. So let's just do away with it and not have to put any kids in that situation, because I, to this day, my heart is racing right now. When I read that, my heart started racing. That's how much it affected me as a kid. I literally would leave the class crying because it made me so upset.
If you are an adopted parent and your child comes home with that assignment, or better yet, give your teacher, hey, here are some trauma-informed alternatives to common assignments. In the beginning of the year, you don't even have to say my child's adopted. You can just say, hey, we believe in trauma-informed care around here. You might have some kids with different family dynamics. Here are some alternative assignments. I can give you a handout. If you need that, feel free to DM me.
Yeah, we need that, because it is traumatizing. I still have cards that my adopted mother wrote to me, and she would always put your real mother.
What
is that?
And I'm like, why are you cosplaying this hard? Like, and that is what I need adoptive parents to understand. And I'm very brutal, very blunt and honest with my words, but I need adoptive parents to understand you will never be the real parent. And that is okay. That is okay to recognize, understand you will never be our biological parent.
Yes.
We know that. We already know that. You already know that. So to beat that into our head as a submission tactic, it doesn't work. I think it has the opposite effect. When I hit 12, I shot back with, "You're not my real mother."
Other mother.
I knew it was painful for her. Oh, Coraline. Yes. Totally.
Somebody just said I called her my other mother from Coraline, and I was like, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but it's, why are you forcing a child to identify who you are in their life? It should be up to the child to designate who you are. If they feel that you caring for them, that you deserve to have the role of mother or father or whatever, that's fine. But you're in it for the wrong reasons if you demand a title from a child, nonetheless.
Well, and I used to always say, I'm like, so what part of me is fake? I don't understand. Like, people always say, well, she's with her real parents. I'm like, so I'm just a piece of paper? Like, I don't understand that concept, but okay.
You are her real parent. You are the one that literally grew her from scratch in your body. If anybody is a real parent, it's the person that grew and gave birth to the child. I will die on that hill. I will die on that hill.
Exactly. And, and if they want to say that you're not the real parent, well, then they are paid for paper parents.
Paper parents. There you go. My favorite term of all time.
They are paid for paper parents. If the disrespect wants to go one way, then we can absolutely do the disrespect back the other way.
Oh, 100%.
They use money and resources to acquire a child.
I think
Caitlin,
it's
I'm
dangerous.
loving all the support you're getting here. I feel like we're having a very opposite experience than we normally have in my comment section, and you're getting lots of support, and I'm really happy about it right now. I hope you're seeing it all.
Maybe people are learning,
I just hope you're seeing it all, because it has to be like detrimental to your mental health to constantly be like attacked. And I hope that you do see that when people are here supporting you, that you feel loved.
I do, and I think for me too, like, it doesn't take a toll on my mental health anymore. I think for me, it just pushes me to educate more, because I think culturally, especially in the United States, like, it's always all about the good of adoption, the beautiful of adoption, and how great and awesome it is. But it's never, whenever anybody talks about it in a negative light, it's like, people are just like mind blown and then attack you because no, adoption is so beautiful and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, yes, adoption does have some beautiful qualities, but there's also a dark side to it where there's pain and there's trauma and there's hurt and there's sadness. And so obviously that needs to be talked about more so people can understand adoption as a whole. Like, hello.
Somebody just said, I'm an adoptee and you people are disgusting me. Listen, you don't have to be here. If we're discussing you, then go somewhere else.
Exactly. Somebody dropped the glitter.
Like, did you need to let us all know that? I'm glad that you told us. Thank you for letting us know. Move on with
The
your
glitter.
day.
The glitter has been thrown.
I love the people that take the time to make those comments. Like, okay, thank you. Siobhan, her glitter, she's talking about the glitter adoptees are the happy adoptees that come in and like talk about how happy they are and that we should be grateful and stop talking. But I tell those people all the time, like happy healed adoptees don't take the time to stop in people's comment sections and talk about how they don't have trauma. Like you're not sounding very healed when you have to sit here and argue with us about how you don't have trauma. Like
Exactly.
Also, people like me don't learn from that.
right.
I listen to adoptees who have not had great experiences because I can learn from their experience. Also, there are many adoptees that say, I love my adoptive parents. They were as trauma informed as they came in 1980, whatever. But I still have trauma. And so I think like that's where the conversation needs to go, is on what can we do